Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Starting 11 here on the Let's Get Ready Network. I'm Adelia. I'm here with Fares. The Euros and Copa America are over, and we're delayed tonight because the Copa America game was delayed, and we're going to talk about all of it. Fares, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Adelia. I am so happy. A great summer of soccer. I give Fox a lot of gruff about some of their stuff, but it was a great term coined, the summer of soccer, because it is the summer of soccer, man. We had Copa America, we have the Euros, and in, I believe in a week in a time, we're gonna have Olympic soccer. In Paris, where the Americans start off their journey against France in the men's side. I believe the women are against I don't know. I think Australia, I think. But yeah, it was a great summer of soccer, in my opinion.
We'll still have preseason games for the
Mm-hmm.
Premier League and the other leagues going on as well, because the men's soccer, at least at the Olympics, is the under 23s. But we're not here to talk about any of that today. We are here today to talk about the Euro final and the Copa America final that happened today, which saw Spain crowned champions of Europe and Argentina just crowned champions of uh, South America. But I guess you can consider it all of the Americas because of
Yeah.
the CAF participation this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, which one do you want to start with first?
Let's start off with the morning shout with Spain and England with them. Yes.
All right, so this game went about as the way I thought it was going to. It was pretty much all Spain, especially in the early going. England just have not started well in any of their games,
Mm-hmm.
except for the very first one, where they played well for the first, half an hour of that. Um, Pretty good defending from England. Um, and then it ended the first half scoreless. So everything was poised and looking good. Um, Spain makes an interesting substitution at halftime, taking off Rodri and bringing on Martin Zubamendi.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it's like that unlocked whatever England were doing, because England looked terrible defensively at the beginning of this half. Nico Williams comes in, scores a goal in the 47th minute. Spain take the lead. Um, England makes some subs. Ollie Watkins comes on for Harry Kane. Cole Palmer comes on for Kobe Manu. And then out of nowhere, Cole Palmer equalizes in the 73rd minute. But it wasn't enough for England, because um, Mikel Oyarzabal comes on for Alvaro Morata in the 68th minute, scores the winner in the 85th. Spain are the European champions for the fourth time. That's the most ever. Ferris, what'd you think of the
That was
match?
a that was a great game. Spain. We all knew it was gonna be the battle of the wings. Nico and Lamine Yamal in the middle. But yeah, no, the Martin Zubimeni thing. It was kind of like more of an offensive thing, because you don't take off Rodri at halftime if something's not wrong. Something probably must have been wrong. Because Spain was up 1-0, and they were really shutting down the game. They could have won 1-0, but they didn't. They won 2-1 because of the
Spain didn't score till after they took Rodri off.
yeah,
They
but
took Rodri
yeah.
off at the half, and Spain scored in the 47th minute.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's what I thought. But then you said it unlocked England. I was thrown off for a minute. I was very confused.
And unlocked the English defense. Something about that move, because all of a sudden, once Zubamendi
Oh,
was
okay,
on
that's
and
what threw me
Rodri
off.
was
You said
off,
yeah, you said unlock things. If you said like break down things, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's like when people say the phrase, "Oh, this soccer player is unplayable," and I'm like, so he's bad, but really he's like really good, and you can't stop him. But yes, Martin Zubamendi showed you the offensive repertoire, because they didn't really lose much defensively with him in, because it was kind of like a swap for swap, and I believe it showed that he how more it went back to a old school Spanish thing, where like it was possession, going forward, pass, cut down the defense, and Martin Zubamendi is what happened, and it shows you why a lot of teams won him, from Real Sociedad, but he just doesn't want to leave Real Sociedad. It makes sense why he was an Arsenal target, so that's why I know all about him, because he was someone Mikel Arteta wanted, but Martin said, I don't want to leave. So, we'll wait if he ever wants to come by, but which is fine. But yeah, man, they needed something. It was kind of a slog in the first half. It was nothing really was happening. And, it was kind of the last offensive spark of the match for Spain with Martin Zubamendi. Martin, he probably goes by Martin instead of Martin.
Probably.
It's like James Rodriguez. It's not James.
No, it's James.
Yes.
Rodri's named player of the tournament.
I don't.
No surprise that Lamine Yamal was named the young player of the tournament.
That makes sense.
Kid was 17 years old and one day as he played in this game, because he turned 17 yesterday.
Yeah.
And he broke Pele's record for the youngest player to ever feature in a World Cup or a Euros that was set back in 1958. He's the youngest final in the final.
Yeah.
He's the youngest.
Yeah, I see that. But like, how old is the Euros? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Talk about the golden boot thing, because the 6 players end up sharing the golden boot.
Yeah,
and I think this is dumb.
Yeah, I understand why some people think it's dumb, because like there's no like tiebreaker. But if they're just going by like golden boots, like you scored the most goals, it makes sense in a way where like, hey, you 6 people had 3 goals, so golden boots for all of y'all. It makes sense that way. But I understand why some people are like, we should have a tiebreaker for that. Yeah. But in a sense, tiebreakers don't mean it. I'm very confused about that, because we're talking about golden boot. It's about scoring goals. That's it. So I understand why they didn't do a tiebreaker, but I'm not going to be mad if they add one and they give it to somebody. But I understand why there's no tiebreaker, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I honestly don't really find the problem and really care, really.
Yeah.
If if 8 people have it,
Yeah. So the Euros have been held every 4 years since 1960.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's still impressive then.
Yeah. So Golden Boot goes to Harry Kane, Danny Olmo, Cody Gakpo, George Mikatadze, Jamal Musiala, and Ivan Schranz.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. They all get a little golden boot. Good for them.
Yeah. Golden Glove, Mike Maignan, the French goalkeeper. 4 clean sheets in 6 games.
Yeah, it makes sense, because their defense was pretty stout throughout the entire game, throughout the entire tournament, until they met Spain, which kind of overrided their midfield, because you had Rabiot and N'Golo Kante. Like, I'm a big fan of N'Golo Kante. I hate how much I love him, because he wore the blue of that other London club, which is fine. He's a great player, but he's getting up there. He's like 32. He dealt with injuries a lot in the Premier League. Adrian Rabiot was not very good for Juventus. I watched a couple of Juventus games. Everyone on that team looked like butt, all of them. They all look bad. Like Dusan Vlahovic, him, nobody was good. I just wasn't impressed by any of them. And that's what people look at Weston McKennie's season as like, oh, that's really impressive. But honestly, it kind of wasn't that impressive a season, because he just looked better compared to trash. But yeah, and Spain, Rodri, Danny Olmo, Fabian Ruiz balanced out their midfield, and in some cases were better than them. And it shows. And then it's kind of seeing how Lamine Yamal is always cutting in. So he's probably going to transition more to the central role as he grows up, because playing in the midfield, some people are saying he may be a 10. He
doesn't play in the midfield.
Well, some people say he may play the 10 or the 9 as he matures, physically. Like Lionel Messi ended up playing the false 9 for Barcelona. If they want to do that, me personally, I would keep him on the wing. Personally, he's
with his speed, I think you've got to keep him on the wing.
Exactly, because not all fullbacks are that fast. We're not talking Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker and Trent Alexander-Arnold, they're anomalies with their speed. Most fullbacks aren't as fast as you think they are. Paulo Maldini isn't walking through that door. Franz Beckenbauer ain't saying what's good. Like those days are over. So he can take advantage of fullbacks because I'm a real with you. I think soccer has a fullback crisis. I think there's a fullback crisis in football. But yeah, good for Spain. Running, the best team won the tournament. They had the hardest
best
path.
team in the tournament won. Yeah.
They had the hardest path. They beat every team in regulation. No extra time. Well, wait, no penalties. So they beat everybody.
Penalties.
They beat everybody. They beat Germany in extra time. They beat everybody prior to penalties. So they beat you before the penalties, because the penalties are the greatest equalizer, man. Because just one of the hardest things to do in all of sports is do a penalty. So yeah, good on Spain. Good for them. And good for Luis de la Fuente, Adelia, because you're talking about a man who won the Euros at the under-19 in 2015. He won the Euros at the under-21 Euros, and then he won silver at the Tokyo Olympics with the under-23s. And then he wins Nations League with Spain, the main team, and then he wins the senior Euros this time around. And that's Spain basically saying, this youth coach that's been winning everything, let's just keep, he kind of went like the traditional path where it's always like you coach the kids and you move up. And he did it. He moved up. And he showed you, because he knew some of these players for about 15 to 10 years. I believe Rodri, Dani Olmo, Fabian Ruiz, he's known them for like 10 to 15 years. And then he also wasn't afraid to change. Everyone talks like Guillaume Balga. Shout out to Guillaume Balga. He talks about the Georgia game where they beat Georgia 7-1. And you're like, why is that game so important? The Federation forgets their boots in Georgia, and two of their wingers get injured. So he has to play. Not he's like, oh, I want to play. He has to play Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal. He has to. They both score against Georgia. So then he's watching this game and he sees those two youngsters and said, oh, we have another dynamic for our team.
Mm-hmm.
So he, instead of being, the crutchety old coach that's stuck in his way, like whatever, he's like, I just have another layer to my team. I'm definitely, because like Wout Weghorst, right? The Dutch want possession, want to be possession, want to have like nice intricate plays, tiki-taka in a sense, where like, it's kind of the Dutch influence of total football. And then, they have their nine is Memphis Depay. Depay. And when it doesn't work, they don't just do a like for like sub for their front line. They don't just sub some guy out and sub a similar player out. It's like, this is not working. Sub in the big man. Change the game. In Wout Weghorst. Same thing with Spain. They can play the have 90% possession, beat you 2-0, 1-0 with our midfield, with runners, from our wings, and then our striker, who used to be Fernando Torres, now it's Alvaro Morata.
David Villa, who was at the game today.
Or David Villa. Now it's, let's use the wings. The wingers are going to be more prominent. Because in that system, if you watch Pep Guardiola's system, the wingers are there, but they're there to create space in lanes, running behind. They don't get the ball, in a sense, his system's all about the midfield. Xavi, Iniesta, Sergio Busquets, them. They're the key to the game. And then the occasional striker, whoever it is, Samuel Eto'o or David Villa from Valencia was one of that. So this showed that Spain can beat you in a million different ways because of the evolution of the Spanish player. Because a Spanish player you knew is going to be technically gifted, can help you hold possession. He can kill a game by death by 1,000 passes, and that was it. It became their archetype, and then they went in a lull where Spain wasn't winning anything. And then these two kids born in Spain, Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal, were like, we're wingers and we want the ball at our feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed the way they play. Shout out to Spain.
Yeah, congratulations to Spain. Let's move on to the other game today, the Copa America final between Argentina and Colombia that kicked off an hour and 22 minutes late
Mm-hmm.
because of a bunch of people trying to sneak into the stadium. And then it was a great game after that.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
the atmosphere was electric.
like a
Uh,
regular Copa America game. Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
No score until the very tail end of extra time when Lautaro Martinez comes on and scores the game winner. Top scorer in the tournament, I believe, Lautaro Martinez.
Yep.
Um, Messi gets injured. Doesn't really seem to affect Argentina because I forget who came in for Messi. Nico Gonzalez, I want to say.
Yes, Nico Gonzalez. Yes.
Um, Colombia feel like I think they should have had a penalty at the very, very end, but the referee doesn't give it.
Mm-hmm.
Blows for full time. Another clean sheet from Emi Martinez, who kept out like 4 shots from Colombia in the first half. He made 4
Yeah.
saves in the first half. So Colombia had their chances. They just couldn't take them. And Emi Martinez always seems to do this in big games, especially in the Copa America and in the 2022 World Cup, where he just goes into like lockdown mode and doesn't let anyone score on him.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on this game, Ferris?
Great game. Typical CONMEBOL South American game. Physical, grinding out game. Most of these games they end in like 1-0s most of the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of sad that it was an hour late. Um, I don't know how much you want to talk about that.
We can
Because
talk about it a little bit.
I have a bunch of thoughts. I just think it's just pure organizational negligence. Also, too, people are selfish. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
and because you clearly see like some of the people who are not ticket holders, they kind of bum rush everything. But the problem is the organizer allowed them to bum rush because that stadium hosts regular football games, college and pro concerts, Formula One races, and a lot of people are saying that CONMEBOL changed the way the stadium operates in funneling people into the stadium, and there was a less police presence than. So Mike Ryan, out of the Dan Leppard show, he says there was less police at this game than University of Miami football games.
Which is not good.
Which is not okay. There should actually be twice as many security people than a college football game, especially because this is South American soccer, where when you have a game in Brazil or Argentina, the opposing fans are told to like go here, sit right here, and they're surrounded by plexiglass, everywhere to protect them. And what happens is that after the game, they're told to wait. They can't leave until everyone else leaves because they're like, we're not trying to have you get shanked,
Yeah.
So they make them wait. The opposing fans are forced to wait for their safety because, all hell can break loose. So there's that. And I think
Yeah.
it's just pure, just organizational negligence. All right, but the game, great game. Sad to see Messi get injured that way. The
Mm-hmm.
grass monster, turf monster got him, rolled up in his ankle, and then he got hurt. He got hurt on the dribble where he twisted it, and then he then is running and trips again, and then at one point they show his ankle, and it's just as swollen as a grapefruit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind
His
of took me.
ankle's really swollen.
It took me off. It took me by surprise, and I was very unsettled by it. They should never do that ever again. He's crying his eyes out, because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh my God, I may lose this, I may win this, I don't know." He's crying because he doesn't know. Pretty much, he doesn't know. But Lautaro Martinez has shown people this year at Inter Milan that he's one of the top 5 strikers in the game as the primary 9 striker, not as a second striker. because he was a second striker with Rolomu Lukaku, right? He was the second
Mhm.
striker feeding Big Rome. But this year at Inter, he became Rolomu and Marcus Thuram became him. So Marcus Thuram became the second striker. But then when it really stopped working, he became the primary striker, and he showed people in Syria, who Syria, it's kind of fallen a little bit since the 90s and the early 2000s. It used to be like the premier league. Everyone went to it, everybody. They pride themselves on defense. Defense is key. And Lautaro Martinez ripped them apart this year. Ripped them apart. And Inter Milan won the Scudetto with like a month left. Like they spent like last 3 weeks, 4 weeks just having fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. So because of him on the national team, he doesn't start. They start Julian Alvarez, probably because it fits Messi's game more. But just like them, Adelia, you know how like we said with Wout Weghorst, they changed the game when he's in the game. Same thing with Lautaro Martinez. One way is not working. Put in Lautaro. Let's change it up. And 3 goals.
My thing about tonight's game was why did it take them so long, especially after Messi exited the game with injury, to put him on?
Exactly. Because I just think, Julian Alvarez was doing his job, and they still have Di Maria and Nico Gonzalez is doing it. So like they kind of just like we're like, we'll figure out. Like they're not doing anything, we're not doing anything. It's fine. And then it also helps that they brought him in the 97th minute, and he's healthy, he's refreshed, he's fine, and everyone else is tired. In extra time. So you kind of, it's a dangerous game to play because you're like, what if they end up scoring? So Lionel Scaloni kind of like grinded them down until he brought in Lautaro. 5 goals, golden boot, 3 because he's a sub. 2 was in the game where he started against Peru that he dropped the brace. And yeah, man, he's a damn good player, man. He's a damn good player. Colombia had its chances to win the game, and then at the end of the game, Fox's broadcast showed you what was going on in the box, but they only showed you one replay. If you were watching on the Univision,
Fox used the world feed, so they didn't have control over those pictures. They've said that multiple times throughout the tournament.
So the world feed, the CONMEBOL world feed, they only showed you the replay from the back of the goal. Like it's through the goalie's perspective, so the back of the goal. Univision, I had a friend tell me she was watching on Univision. They were saying Colombia got fouled in the penalty box. It should have been a penalty. And I was watching with Adelia, me, you were watching it. I was like, Adelia, did I just see someone kick the Colombian guy in the hamstring? And my friend said, yes, you did. He was kicked in the hamstring. And I'm not saying conspiracy theory, Adelia, but correct me if I'm wrong. If someone kicks a player when they're kicking the ball to a goal in the hamstring in the penalty box, isn't that usually a penalty?
I mean, usually, but like the VAR in this tournament has been all over the place too. The refereeing was all over the place in this tournament. So I'm not surprised that they missed it because they've missed a lot in this tournament.
Yeah. So yeah. And the way the ref ended the game was weird. He wanted to make it a drop shot for some odd person. Cause like
drop ball. Yeah.
Drop ball. I don't understand. See, that's the one thing in soccer I don't understand. What event causes a drop ball?
I mean, usually if like the ball hits the referee or something like that, sometimes there's a need to give possession back to one team, so the ref will drop the ball. But I don't know.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying. Nothing in that moment should have been a drop ball. It should have been a penalty.
Emi Martinez had possession of the ball. He went over to Emi Martinez, told him to get up, took the ball from him, and then
just
made
a
drop ball. Yeah, and then just like everybody's arguing about whether it should have been a penalty or not. They never said that. We never got the graphic that said they were checking for a potential penalty. So we assume VAR was checking, but we don't know. And then he just gives the possession back to Emi Martinez. Just let Emi Martinez hang on to the ball.
Exactly. Because nothing prior to the drop ball should have caused the drop ball.
Yeah.
You know? Because like nothing, it made no sense. It's just combo. Like, so, let's kind of transition of like Jesse Marsh in his press conference just lambasted them where he said, yo, man, this tournament's been an entire shit show. The refereeing has been bad. Points out to how the CONCACAF teams got the shaft in most of their matchups. He also brings up how Lionel Scaloni, or no, not Lionel Scaloni, the people after the Argentina game, where they like the managers in the press conferences basically coerced the refs in saying that the Canadians are too aggressive and they're a bit dirty and to watch them. So the refs were then kind of pressured by the opposing coaches to basically watch the Canadians. But honestly, when I was watching the Canadians, they were just doing versions of what CONMEBOL does to each other. And some points a little bit less. And there was a game in the third place game where one of the Uruguayans got a yellow card, but it should have been a red. The way the studs went into the I think it was Alistair Johnson's ankle, Adelia. It was studs out straight into his ankle. Like Uruguay should have gotten the red. Jesse Marsh was like, bro, look, Jesse Marsh brings up the Uruguay-US game in Kansas City, and he says that was probably the most biased officiating game I've ever seen in my entire life. That's what he said. And you know what? He's probably right, because some of the stuff that happened in the CONCACAF teams was a bit outrageous. A bit outrageous for this tournament, So yeah.
The refereeing was shocking in this tournament.
It's horrible. Quite horrible.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad in every game. And then being a ref, you shouldn't be scared that a coach in a press conference says something about you saying, oh, they're a little dirty, you should watch them. You shouldn't be swayed by that. You should come into the game, call it straight down the line, no influences from either coach. But I think people got scared from Lionel Scaloni kind of calling them out, saying like, hey, man, watch out Canada's little dirty tactics. But Canada wasn't dirty. Shout out to Canada, man. They had a great tournament. Outplayed Uruguay with their B team. And it shows you that they should have been playing with one striker all along. They bring in Jonathan David as the lone striker. You know what Jonathan David does, Adelia? Scores to give them the lead in the 82nd minute. This two striker business should be dead. Stop it. Like, stop doing it. The reason the 4-4-2 isn't being used anymore because no one, I don't know, it's dead, outdated, can't be properly used. I don't know, you name it. So yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to Argentina for their 16th Copa America. Now they broke the tie with Uruguay, who was also had 15. They're the sole holder of the number one.
Any other thoughts on the summer of soccer, Fares?
International football, man. It's you just gotta play. No tactics. Put your best 11 out. You do you give them an assignment, and you gotta let the balls. You gotta roll the balls out and be like, let's go play some soccer. And I think that was the problem with England is they didn't know what to do because Gareth Southgate didn't give them a direction. You give them a direction, you can't, like, and that's why they didn't win anything because like they're like, what the hell is going? And I think Gareth Southgate got too scared to tell certain players what to do. He got Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter was too close to the players, friendly with the players. And I think Gareth Southgate is the same way. He's too close to the players. He's too friendly with the players. Because ain't no way he should have been sitting there watching Harry Kane play and tell him, stop going in the midfield. You're my 9, get in the box. I don't care that you're Harry Kane. I don't care that you're my captain, you're my talisman. I do care about that. But what you're doing right now is not helping this team. Because we need a 9, not whatever the hell you play. I think that's a problem with Gareth Southgate. When people make the joke, we're like, oh, him and Berhalter are like similar. Ha 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 ha. They are. They're too close to the players. They're too friendly. They're friends with them.
Yeah.
And you know what? And sometimes the coaches, you kind of let the players get with it. If you're like friends with them, he should have been yelling at Harry Kane. Like he should have been. He should have. And you know what? In all these, I watched a lot of British media coverage of the team. A lot of it. And every time they talked about this team, they would talk about everyone else and how, you know, what the hell is wrong with Declan Rice? He's always passing it back to John Stones. Jude Bellingham, what's wrong with him a little? But they didn't really talk about Jude like that. They just said like he's not playing very well. Bukayo Saka needs to play wing back and put in Cole Palmer. Oh, and then you know, what is Conor Gallagher doing here? Putting Kobe Mainu. You know, Karen Trippier. What is wrong with him? But then we're like, oh, what about Phil Foden? What about Harry Kane? Oh, you have to have him in the squad.
Yeah.
No,
and I don't think he did.
No, that's not how you should operate in international football. No one's job is safe. This isn't club. This isn't Manchester City Phil Foden we're talking about. Who, you know, we troll him all the time and you know, we call him a system player, but he fits the system and he's great in the system and he has great seasons underneath the system. We're talking about a 6-time Premier League champion here. You know, 3 of them he actually contributed to. You know, we're not talking about like he's not a scrub. You know, he's, you know, I'm not going to call him that, but he doesn't work with the international football. He doesn't. You know, when he's the system, it's not working. He needs a system. He can't be the system. And then you kind of, so like, let's say like you don't start Bukayo Saka. That's fine with me. Don't start him. If you want to start Harry Kane, then you start wingers who are runners, who don't need the ball at their feet, who will run in behind Harry Kane. But you didn't start those type of wingers. You started wingers who need the ball at their feet, and you're telling Harry Kane to do his usual thing, but his usual thing doesn't work with your 2 wingers.
Mm-hmm.
Either you tell Harry Kane you want to start, get in the box, or you start Ollie Watkins, or you don't start those 2 wingers. You don't. And you need to stop telling Jude Bellingham that he's a 10. He's not a 10. He's an 8. He's a box-to-box, late-running midfielder. He's not a 10. He's not. At this moment in time, in this English team, he's not a 10. Can he be a 10 at Real Madrid? Absolutely. But in this English team, it's not working. So you need, you know, you know what the definition of insanity is?
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Exactly. So you're telling them all to do the same thing over and over again, and you're expecting different results. It's not happening. Jude Bellingham didn't play very good. Phil Foden played horribly. Harry Kane was awful. You know, Aaron Trippier was like, why am I in this position? This is not my position. You scapegoated Trent Alexander-Arnold. Bukayo Saka, his fullback mate didn't know how to work with him. He didn't know how to do overlaps with him. Kyle Walker, this genetic freak who was injured in the game, but stayed in the game, played the full 90.
somehow played the full 90.
Yeah, he's a little weird guy. The man's body's not the same as mine. The best player for the English national team, Adelia, you know, Mark Gagey. Or you can say John Stones because he didn't get suspended. You know?
Saka had both pretty good for England, yes.
Exactly. Saka had his moments.
Palmer was good when he came on.
Exactly. And with Cole Palmer, you know, put him in the game, make him a 10. That's what he did at Chelsea. You can play with 2 8s and make one a 10. Kind of like a 4-1-1-1-3. It's weird. It's kind of weird like that.
That would be a very weird formation.
It's a little bit, but yeah, but like it would be, but on the team sheet it would be a 4-3-3. But when you're attacking, you have a 1-1-3 in a sense where you have the 10 and you have the other 8/10, which is Jude, and he's box to box, and he's playing off of Cole, late runs, trying to fight him in, or with Harry Kane, but it just didn't work. He's too friendly with them. He didn't criticize them. He didn't move them. He guaranteed 2 people spots that shouldn't have been guaranteed. Ollie Watkins should have played. Ollie Watkins didn't play at all in this tournament. He played barely. And then when he came on, he scores a game-winning goal. I'm not saying that's what he's going to do all the time. But Ollie Watkins, the reason Aston Villa is in the Champions League next year, Adelia, all about, Unai Emery's yabba dabba dabba. But Ollie Watkins showed up this year. He was in form. Same thing with Harry Kane at Bayern Munich. But when Harry Kane isn't playing very well for England, you got to move on. No one should be guaranteed spots. The problem we have with the U.S. men's national team, the players, we know who's going to be called in for the U.S. men's national team. For the last 5 years, we know the usual suspects. We know them.
But I mean, that's the way that it is with most national teams, Fares. You know the usual suspects.
Yeah, but if it's not working anymore, you got to change.
No, I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying.
No. Exactly. So you got to change, and it didn't work. It's fine to bring the usual suspects, but if it's not working, that's a kind of like an indicator, like, we need to change up a little bit.
I will say, in Gareth Southgate's somewhat defense, he did start taking Harry Kane off and putting on Ollie Watkins, and he'd start taking Phil Foden off and putting on Cole Palmer or whoever. So he did start making substitutions in that regard towards the end of the tournament. It just didn't work out today for them to get a game-tying goal.
And my thing is this, man. You wasted 60 minutes of a game of that. If it ain't working in the first half, Luis Del Fuente said, all right, Martin, get in there. Took out Rodri, who allegedly is one of the best midfielders in the world.
One player of the tournament.
Alleged Ballon d'Or winner. Mr. 80-game winning streak. Bullshit. You know what I mean? Him and Luis Del Fuente was like, all right, I don't care. Martin, get in there. You could have, like, you know in the first half if it's working. Harry Kane never worked in the first half. It never worked in the first 60 minutes. And you wasted, now you'd be like, hey, Ollie, you have 30 minutes. Do something. But sometimes we'd be like, hey, Ollie, you only have 20 minutes. Or hey, Ivan, you only have 10 minutes. Oh, now we're in extra time. Like what are we doing here, man? You should never wait to make subs. You gotta be proactive. He got defensive. He got scared. And someone said with Gareth Southgate, due to the fact that he's a former defender, he relied on his defensive capabilities of his team over the offensive capabilities of his team. But it is what it is. He shouldn't come back. That's my opinion. The FA wants him to come back. That means you're scared of being great. You're fine with good. Which is fine. Whatever.
Okay. It's been a good summer.
Yeah.
This is our final episode this summer. We will be back with probably a preview episode of the Premier League, me and Snark, sometime in August. Fares, where can people find you?
Find me here, guys, every Friday. Good Friends, Better Rivals, American football. Me and Caleb talk the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, as well as on our entertainment channel, 8 o'clock Pacific, The Open Table is our long-form conversational show where me and Adelia will talk to each other, or we'll have a guest with us, or it's me interviewing someone. It's you don't know who's going to come to the table and converse with us. Last week, we had the great Brandy on our show. We talked about summer memories and how they have affected us growing up. So, yeah. And, in the future, I'll also be showing up on the Rewatchers Council. I just need to get on up and binge Buffy.
Yeah, the Rewatchers Council is our Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatch series. That's Thursdays, 3 p.m. Pacific on the entertainment channel. Links to both of the channels are in the description of this episode. Please subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And you can find me on Starting 11 come August again. Until next time, thank you for joining us, everyone, and we are out of here.